Hi, I'm Tom, and I've never seen the Titanic, but I have seen The Room at least 3 times.
And I'm Sean, and I think Forrest Gump is fine. There, I said it.
And this is Flix and Flops, the podcast where we watch movies, talk nonsense,
And pretend to know what we're doing.
grab your snacks, lower your expectations, and let's ruin some cinema together.
Because nothing says film analysis like two friends arguing over whether Nicolas Cage is a genius or just bored.
All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Flicks and Flops. We're doing a round 2 on this because Sean and I could not figure out the first one, so I think this is going to be somehow even better. Can't confirm it, though.
Yeah, this is the first time in Flix and Flops history that we have to re-record an episode because my internet decided that it was gonna do. You remember that Fairly Odd Parents episode where Timmy has to go inside the computer and the thing is taking 10 fucking years to upload because it was 2000s era internet. Yeah, my internet decided to do that exact same thing, and here we are, and I'm sure we'll cover new ground in this one. But who's to say? We might just repeat ourselves for an hour, and you'll like it because you'll never know the difference.
Is
right?
that the episode where Mr. Crocker's in a red dress and the photo of him is loading up on the computer?
Yes. I'm pretty sure it's like a Valentine's episode or something. I think the whole plot is that Timmy has to stop some email.
Oh, it was the email to Trixie. It was
Um,
he was telling her how much he loves her, right?
Yeah,
And they had the literal
but
firewall where it's just a wall of fire.
a wall of fire. Oh my god. That show was so goated the way it did technology. Channel Chasers is iconic television, dude. The TV one. Oh my god.
But
But
that's the
anyways,
thing. We're not here to talk about Fairly Odd Parents, but we really could. But that's a whole nother
we
discussion.
could.
What we're here for is we're
Yes.
talking about Wake Up Dead Man, the third movie in the Knives Out trilogy. I mean, I'm going to start right off the bat that I think it was the best of the three. I think it's the strongest, most cohesive one. Not to say the first one is bad or the second one's bad. It's just this one was so great from start to finish. And it had a lot of really interesting elements to it that the other two kind of lacked, especially the second one. I think the
Mhm.
first one is still really strong. The second's still good, but it comparatively between all three just doesn't really fit into the rest of the vibes. It felt a little too outlandish.
Yeah, Glass Onion very much jumps the shark. It kind of all three of the movies, you'll notice especially as we were watching this one. Well, actually, this is also the first time in Flix and Flops history we are talking about a movie we didn't watch together, but we did discuss extensively prior to this. But you kind of notice a lot of reoccurring character types. There's always the quirky woman, which is Glenn Close in this one, who's then what's her name in Glass Onion? I'm blanking on it, but a lot of the characters are kind of always the same. You have the cynical guy who's kind of a loser but wants to make a comeback. You got the absolute dominant guy who usually kind of dies. In this case, being Jefferson Wicks, Josh Brolin, who puts on one hell of a performance for the time he's in the movie. But the first one, it's very novel with Knives Out. Then Glass Onion, they kind of up the ante. It kind of gets a little too. I like the term outlandish you used, but this one, it's kind of takes all of what the previous two have built up as kind of the formula of this series, and really adds a lot of depth to it. There's a lot more instead of just having all these quirky characters and Daniel Craig being the god detective who makes Sherlock Holmes look like an absolute amateur. Everyone feels, while he still has that sort of power, it feels a lot more human. The stakes are a lot higher in a sense, and also it's just there's a lot more depth with kind of the thematic touches to this movie, though at times it's a bit heavy-handed, but I'll let you kind of touch on that.
I mean, the heavy-handedness of it does get a little bit in the way of the movie. There's only two big issues. They're not even big, but two issues that I really have with the movie. One is how they keep doing their themes are good. I like a lot of those themes of, last time we had talked about this, it was the whole use of lighting. where you have Father
Yeah.
Judd is always kind of in this like angelic glow and a lot of light to be like he's spiritually enlightened. Whereas
Hmm.
when Blanc shows up the first time into the church, it's this like kind of darker blue tinged light of him casting doubt. He doesn't really believe in religion. He's like, it's all kind of hokey, whatever to him. He doesn't believe it, none
Hmm.
of it's real. So he's like, I'm casting doubt on it. They do kind of tend to overdo it a little bit where they keep having that repeatedly over and over. It's a nice theme, but one of the things that really kind of got to me was the ending where he has that whole "oh, it's my road to Damascus" moment, and the light shifts for him from blue to like this angelic glow. I'm like, it's a little over the top and a little too heavy-handed, but at least it's a proper use of lighting and actually putting some interesting themes in here. Unlike Money Plane, where they didn't know what light was or how to use light sources.
Money
Like,
play. Oh my
at
God.
least it's like it's competently done and they had a purpose behind it. Whereas Money Plane, they're like, we lit one single lamp. Isn't that enough?
I was gonna say this movie accomplished the goal of actually having scenes at night where you can see what's going on while also, it's still seeming like night.
It shouldn't be that difficult, but I do love the way that Josh Brolin does Monsignor Wicks. Flawless. I think it's really interesting to have that kind of dynamic because a lot of people will think of priesthood and stuff like that and they're like, oh, it's a very stoic kind of person. Oh, it's very like it's like,
Mhm.
oh, forgive me, Father, like a very much like, oh, you have been forgiven, my child, kind of thing. Mm, I know I mentioned this one to you before, but I'm not a really a religious person. But when my oldest sister, got married, we had the she had the priest from her college come over and marry her to her now husband.
Mhm.
And I'll never forget, he came over to stay at our place for like a couple of nights before the wedding. And we're just sitting there. And like I said, I'm not religious, so I don't know what to say to him. And I'm like, do you want something to drink, Father? Like that felt like unnatural to say to me, but I was like,
Yeah.
do you want water? Like, what would you like, Father? And he just stops and looks at me and he goes, you got any vodka? And I was like, yeah. And I just didn't like, I was like, oh, I'll also drink with you. But I'm like, I just never that like weird dichotomy was so strange to me of being like this person who's
Mhm.
usually like, very much on the righteous path, and then all of a sudden they're saying things that you just wouldn't expect them to say. And I think that kind of shock factor works really well in this movie where you have Monsignor Wicks as this kind of like, he's laying the hammer down on everyone in this church. But when you first meet him with Father Judd, he's like, oh, I need to confess. And you're like, okay, he's probably just going to be like, oh, I took the Lord's name in vain. And he starts going off being like, I masturbated 5 times today. I did this. He's like, I stole. And it's like all this crazy stuff. I think that works really well. And I think that kind of like something you wouldn't ever expect makes the movie so much better.
Mhm. For sure. And I think yeah, talking about like cat cafes and like one of my favorite like comedic moments in the movie is where like Judd starts like losing his patience. Like when he's like recounting the story, he starts like losing his patience with the Monsignor Wicks and the patrons. And he's like, yep, I found some paperwork and some tests, and you were chemically castrated, so there's no way you could have been masturbating, which is like Jesus, this like see that and that's what I love about these movies is that they can be like they can have that kind of like unhinged stuff. Like the dialogue is like almost like Tarantino on steroids at times, like just very out there, a lot of interesting references, but also just like not afraid to kind of throw you through a loop. But I think what's interesting about what you were just saying to me is I think oftentimes how priests are portrayed to us in media and almost like kind of when you're growing up, you kind of take their aura as being like very serious people. At the end of the day, um they're human, we're all human. And I think when you think of it, comparing Jefferson Wicks to Judd Duplessis, Josh O'Connor, and Josh Brolin's characters, they are both human but in different ways of the church. Jefferson Wicks is kind of like that sort of almost like archetypal corrupt priest, kind of cares more about um using it to empower himself. I mean, literally that's the whole premise of his church, is that he is like the one judging all of them and etc., and was going to use the money along with side Raven, the absolute fucking bozo for a career in politics, which Lord knows, with the weirdness in the Knives Out universe, how that would have went. So thank God that didn't happen. But you have Judd Duplantis, who also kind of represents the um, redemption factor of the church, where this is a guy who was a boxer who like killed a dude in a match, and literally religion is what saved him from substance abuse, self-harm, etc. And he was able to kind of use that redemption for himself to kind of embody a lot of what you know um Christianity's about. So, or in the modern era. But yeah, no, it's interesting. Like, and when you think of it, the thematic stuff from that sort of lens instead of the heavy-handed end of it, which I gotta say, you kind of get to that point more after ruminating on the movie than during it. Um, and it's stuff like that where I think Wake Up Dead Man really kind of shows itself out as the clear best movie in the franchise so far, given that the other two definitely make you think, but not like that. It's the deeper level of subtext that I think Ryan Johnson really nails on
I
this
mean,
one.
it honestly feels like the whole idea of Old Testament versus New Testament kind of thing, where Monsignor Wicks is the Old Testament of like, be afraid of my righteous wrath, punishment will come for you, like you have to stay on the straight and narrow or there are consequences. And then you kind of have the New
Hmm.
Testament where you have Father Judd who's like, it's okay, I'm here for you, forgiveness, it's all right, we're all in this together. And it's interesting to have that like battle between them, and it's even shown in such a great scene of when Father Judd is talking to, they're trying to figure out, in part of the murder, who opened the like Lazarus pit, right? It's supposed to be like
Yeah,
it can't be opened. It has to be done by like a crane.
it has to be done
Yeah.
inside,
And they
yeah,
have
or
the
like with
they
the
have that
crane.
great moment of when Father Judd calls the company that opened it. And the woman's talking to him and she's like, "Oh, Father, like please, do you have a moment to talk about this tough time that I'm going through with my mother?" And it's kind of played for laughs at first, where you're like, he's like, "Okay, yep, sure, whatever." He's like, "I really got to get going. We're trying to solve a murder." And it's like that kind of like, she's slowing down the process kind of quirky joke. But then it
Yeah.
immediately shifts to where instead of him being like, "Oh my God, come on," that very next scene it's like really somber. The lighting is so much better. And he just is sitting there and it's like nighttime. And he's talking to her. He's like, "It's okay. Like everything that's meant to be is meant to be." And he's like helping her out. And you can
Hmm.
hear like crying on the phone. She's like, "Thank you, Father." And he's like, "Of course, you can call me anytime, day or night." And it shows that that's like, he lost his path as trying to figure out where he is in the
Hmm.
priesthood, but then doing something so small and so, for lack of a better term, like meaningless to him, but it meant so much more to this random woman that he might never talk to again. It really shows that it's like his characters. I'm there for you. I'm here for you. I'm going to support you. And it kind of invigorates his
Hmm.
his spirit again, where he's like, "Oh, this is why I became a priest," and it sets him back on that correct path. And I think something like that is what's missing in Glass Onion or missing in Knives Out, is you don't have any of those characters who go through any moments like that, where they're really having that turbulence of being like, "Who am I? And what am I? And how do I get back to who I am?" So I think that that's a really powerful statement, which works super well with the whole idea too of like the perfect murder, right? Where it's like there's only
Hmm.
what, like six people in this room, and there's no way that someone could get in or out. Like, I think that the murder in this one might be my favorite because it's one of those things that just like seems genuinely impossible. My God, one day I'm gonna get over this cough, but
It's interesting because I think they flirt with the idea of having the kind of person who's kind of being accused, because in every single one of the archetypes is that someone's being accused of having been involved with the
yeah, like the
murder.
red herring of the
uh
story.
Yeah, which is Ana de Armas in the first one, and then Janelle Monáe in the second one, and then obviously Josh O'Connor in this one. And they kind of flirt with the idea of it because Ana de Armas's character is kind of like she's the nurse, she's kind of treated down by everyone else, but her true character was seen by Harlan and Christopher Plummer's character, and also by Daniel Craig. So she's kind of able to grow from that. And then in Glass Onion, I think one of the best parts of Glass Onion is actually how um, the twin sister of Janelle Monáe. So Janelle Monáe plays twin sisters, and there's the one who obviously Andy, who was in the friend group, who died, and then there's Helen, and so Helen kind of has this interesting sort of um, redemption for her sister, but still kind of, but there's still the thing with both of those characters is that there isn't that huge moment at the end. Like both of the movies kind of end. I mean, Glass Onion, they're literally just on the island after the Mona Lisa burned, and they're just like fucking sitting there waiting for the cops to arrive. Knives Out, she's on Adonis is like um on the balcony watching them get arrested. Like we don't really see what happens after. What I liked a lot about Wake Up Dead Man is we do see what happens in the immediate aftermath. Well, actually, they do it like a year time skip, and they show him, open up at the church. They moved on with their lives. Um, we see he has those crises of faith in the movie, Judd Duplantis, but at the end of the movie, he is very much. Um, with the program, like he's grown and he's going to help other people kind of redeem themselves. So just that alone, I think, well done to Ryan Johnson. You fucked up Star Wars royally. Oh my
Rory.
god, you have a cough.
That's like a
You have a cough. I can't speak properly. I mean, what are you gonna do? But like, this is the guy
that's like
who
30 Rock rural juror. You know what it's the rural
I
juror.
think so. I think I know what you're talking about. Oh my god. But like this is a guy who's super capable of like writing really good shit. Like I mean he wrote like the three best episodes in Breaking Bad. Ozymandias, Fly, and 51. Like literally probably the three best episodes in that series, and they're all super well written. I mean, Brick, Looper, great fucking movies. And even actually for those of you who want to like watch a fun TV show, even though I don't think he's gonna be even though I think they're gonna have to continue it in a different platform. Poker Face, if on Peacock, with Natasha Lyonne. That's by Ryan Johnson. That's also a mystery show, super well written. But like, yeah, needless to say, he. I was very concerned if after Glass Onion, after they jumped the shark, and I can imagine you were probably concerned too. Like, okay, is that the direction we're going in now? But thankfully, no. They really locked in for this one, to say the
I
least.
thought it was really going to
So
be like Netflixified. You know what I mean? Where Netflix really doesn't know how to keep track of their own movies and TV shows, where they lose focus of it very early on. And it seemed like that was kind of the direction Glass Onion was going in. Was this whole thing of being like, okay, so now they're just going to ruin what was a good movie with an unnecessary sequel, and then they're just going to keep like producing these because it's just a money making machine, right? But I'm glad to show
hmm
they went in kind of like that different direction. And I also love that you mentioned like the whole crisis of faith thing, because you have that with Blanc too, where in none of the other movies does he really have this. But in this one, when he figures out who was the murderer and how it all came together, he has that whole
yeah,
moment where he's like, all right, he says in front of the congregation, he's like, I can't solve this. I can't do it. It's
yeah,
impossible. You can all go on your way. And then he's like, but you, ma'am, you stay. And they're all like, okay. Like none of them care. They're like, woo, woo, we're saved. And he lets her have this whole. It was what was her name? You had it before. Uh, Glenn Close.
Glenn
Yeah,
Close's character. Yeah,
Margaret.
what's it, Margaret? I
And
think.
she was fantastic. And I loved the whole idea of how he's like, you know what? She is really bought into the religion. It's at her core of who she is as a person. And he's like, the only way she thinks she's going to get into heaven is if she confesses to this sin. And he's like, it's not on me
hmm
to rob her of this and, tell her just because I don't believe in it doesn't mean that it's not real to her. And I love that whole change because that's completely different than what he was at the beginning of the movie. At the beginning, he's like, there's no scientific data for this. And he's going like on and on and on.
Mhm,
And now he has that
mhm.
whole thing where he's like, you know what? It's not on me to tell her what's real, what isn't. If it gives her some sort of comfort, I'll let her confess and in her dying breath say it and get her penance, whatever, get, say the 5 Hail Marys, whatever it is. I think that
Yeah.
that's a really powerful thing and something that the other movies lacked. Because you don't see
For
him do that in
sure.
any of the other movies. He's like, I'm
No.
smarter than all of you. I'm going to prove you all wrong. But did you catch the Lord of the Rings reference in it?
Do enlighten me. I think I might have missed it.
It's the scene with Monsignor Wicks and everyone else when they're going through Sai's video of being like when he took video of how Monsignor Wicks is like, I'm gonna burn all of you if you take me down.
Oh my god, the YouTube videos are
They're
actually
great.
like I can't even describe them. That's one of the parts of this movie where it's like that's just a fucking visceral experience. Which like they kind of flirted with the idea of like doing those pop culture parodies because Batista's character in the Glass Onion had like the Twitch
Yeah.
streams that were like literally making fun of like IRL streams. That I actually thought was one of the funniest parts of that movie. I thought like some of the time they hammed it up, it was a little corny, but like when they nailed it, they nailed it. But yeah, Side Raven's videos. No, it's just exactly you're nailing exactly why I like this movie so much. Love this movie, I should say, is that instead of him being like, well, fuck all your personal values, you're all stupid, I'm smart, I solved this, and enjoy your redemption. He puts himself on a human level and like actually like grows as a character more than he has in the previous two. The previous two, it's almost like he's kind of portrayed as like this like some like a Christmas Carol shit, like the ghost of future past, like on some r/atheists shit, being like, "You guys are all stupid. I'm the smartest." Blah 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 blah. This one, like, he really puts himself on like a human level, and like you said, he allows her to redeem herself while also solving the mystery, which at the end of the day is all he wants. So,
Well, I gotta say, if you, there were, I had to look this up real quick, but there are two Lord of the Rings references in this movie.
oh, what's the other one?
The first is "You shall not pass" is said, which very clear reference to when Gandalf is talking to the Balrog. You shall not pass. And the second is when they're all in that meeting and everyone's sharing their things and they're like, "You can have this and my this," and someone goes and they pause. And they're like, "My book" or whatever. But it's supposed to be the reference to in the Fellowship of the Ring where they're like, "Oh, you can have my sword, my bow," and then Gimli goes, "And my axe." So I appreciate Ryan Johnson for including that because it's just like it's things that you wouldn't really notice and they still made sense in the movie too. They weren't like thrown in there just to be thrown in. He does love Lord of the Rings, but it's also like a lot of these references that he puts in there and like callbacks all feel natural within that world. And I think he did a really good job of nothing feeling way too over the top in this one. I love the whole thing of Sai constantly having his phone like this and like always recording. He had the little handheld device and he's
Oh my god, dude, it was like such a like he embodied the parody of like the people that just fucking do that to push their own agenda like so well. Just like the way that Ryan Johnson was able to have like these deep themes while also like shitting on like meta culture of like today's society. Just like he took all the pieces that did work in the first two and then just like kind of reached an apex in this one to a point where, like, I mean, if there isn't a fourth one, which I'd kind of be shocked if there wasn't, though I think they kind of wanted to see how this one would do first, and everyone loved it, which is good.
it's
I mean, I
absolute
don't blame
cinema.
them. It is. Um, I think I'm interested to see if we stick in this sort of direction, I mean, I would hope the only place we could go here is from here is up, but like, Glass Onion, there were some moments for sure. Like the middle of that movie, like I love the mystery in that one. It is really fun, but the middle
Oh,
drags so hard. Like that one scene where they're on like the patio, and everyone's sitting, and he's like investigating like their sides of the story, or whatever. That scene feels like it goes on for like
way
fucking
too
45
long.
minutes.
It's way too long.
It's like, dude, what are you doing? Which like there are some scenes in the movie that like um are a bit longer than others where they're all in one place. But honestly, I think that now that I think about it, I kind of think that is one of the part that really saves this movie, other than all the cool, really cinematic filmmaking stuff we're talking about. Like I think where they nail it is the pacing. We're able to tackle all these cool environments and have all these characters interacting together, but it kind of felt like they'd be in static locations for a lot of the time in the first two. I mean, don't get me wrong. By the end of it, they'd be moved from set piece to set piece. But this one, we're basically like moving the whole time. We're going, into the past, in the present, the future, etc. Like it's and we're still getting the essence of all these characters. Yeah, no, I mean, I can't speak enough to how impressive it was. He was able to kind of take um, this movie to the next level because it was very hyped. So, and it lived up to it, which is good. Not many movies do these
I
days.
mean, the only other things I can really think of that kind of don't really work for me is I wanted more of Thomas Hayden Church because I'm a big Thomas Hayden Church fan. I loved him as Sandman in Spider-Man 3. I know everyone hates that movie, but that movie holds a very special place in my heart because that was one of the first movies that my mom actually took me out of school when I was younger to go see in theaters because she was like, yeah, she was
Really?
like, "Oh, I know you love Spider-Man." And it was like around I think it was I want to say around my birthday or something. So my mom was like, I never left school early, never like skipped school. My mom called me out of school and I was like, "Oh, is everything okay?" She was like, "Yeah, I just thought it'd be nice to, bring you to go see Spider-Man 3." So that holds a very special place in my heart as like
Oh
a
my
top tier
god.
movie for me. And Thomas Hayden Church's Sandman, fantastic. And he doesn't get kind of like enough credit in this movie, I feel like he's so good and he's almost underutilized to a criminal extent in this movie. He's
Absolutely.
so
He's
talented and he just doesn't have too much to do. I mean, it could be a product of like such having such a good cast that it's like you need someone who's got to take a back seat and he was like probably fine taking the back seat. But I think that it could have been better served as like just give him a little bit more to do because goddamn is he great.
Yeah, come to think of it, it is kind of one of those things where I do love how you have all these incredible actors kind of bouncing around. The issue you run into at times is that ultimately there's only so much screen time and there's only so many plot points to kind of hit. So some characters feel a lot more underutilized than others. Like his character in particular, and then the girl in the wheelchair, the
Oh
parishioner,
yeah.
like both of them kind of have very minimal impact on the overall story. I mean, honestly, even kind of Kerry Washington's character, which sucks because her one monologue did, it fucking nailed it. I felt she was super underutilized as well. And like, I generally am okay with me like Mila Kunis. I mean, kind of fuck Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis for kind of the way they're riding dying with Danny Masterson. I'm okay with all that.
That's a
But
choice
like,
to make to side with him.
yeah, yeah. But like as an actress, I'm usually pretty cool with her. But I thought she kind of took like the quirky role, which was kind of done by Tony Collette in the first one. I actually think I misspoke earlier. Jamie Lee Curtis is the serious one in the first
Oh
one. Tony
yeah.
Collette is kind of the quirky one. And then there's the blonde girl in Glass Onion. She had like some stupid name like Lily or Blossom. I'm gonna look it up. This is gonna drive me nuts if I don't remember it. Birdie J, yeah, Kate Hudson's character, Birdie J. There's also whiskey. Let's not
Oh
forget
my
whiskey.
god.
But yeah, but like Mila Kunis is the same is the quirky girl in this one, kind of the one who's like clearly a bit, dumber than the rest, to put it bluntly. And but she kind of had the weakest performance, I think, out of every character that had like a decent bit of screen time in this. Um, like I mean, Bridget Everett, who was in somewhere, someplace on HBO, I think is the name of the show. You were talking about her earlier, the construction office
Yeah.
worker. Like she put a way better performance in the Mila Kunis, and I felt. And what sucks is that she's in it a good bit, and her screen time could have been warranted to some of these other characters. But like at this point, I'm really just nitpicking. Like as a product as it stands, pretty fucking awesome already. It's just if there were some of these tweaks, it could hypothetically be better. But that's also the thing. It also like when a movie is such a solid product as is, and those are the kind of nitpicks you're making, it's almost like you don't know. Like sometimes it's really obvious what changes could be there for movies that are like clearly imperfect that would actually make them good. But like I can say that all I want, that if they dedicated some of that screen time to these other characters, it would make it a better product. But like would it? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's interesting. That sorry, that's kind of a random Sean shower thought in the middle of the episode, but like that's just kind of how I feel about it on a core level. Like if that's the kind of stuff I'm complaining about your movie, you did a pretty fucking great job. Where I'm starting to wonder, like, damn, like this was so good, do more of it.
I mean, that's
Like
exactly how I feel with it too. It's just like it's the tiniest nitpicks, and I agree about Mila Kunis too. She's just it's kind of eh. I was never really big on her as an actress. I mean, that '70s show, she kind of fits the role because they're all supposed to be stupid, whatever. But like
mhm.
as I as I watch more movies and more TV shows and get older and whatever, the circle keeps spinning endlessly on this wheel that we call Earth. I'm like, she's not that good, And it's when I saw that she was in this movie when she walks into the church, she's like, "Oh, I'm the officer." I was like, I feel like this. You could have gotten anybody. You could have gotten some no-name person, and it would have been fine. It's just that it's her, and she doesn't really fit the vibe of the whole movie. She doesn't fit in with a lot of like the way people are acting, and she feels kind of disconnected from the rest of the movie, which makes it weirder that she's so heavily involved in it too. And she has so much to do when she's such a bland actress, and she also is like she doesn't even do any facial expressions. She's kind of bad at blocking too. It seems like she doesn't know her cues on where to stand and whatnot. So it's just more of like every time you see her, you're like, oh, okay. She'll have scenes of being like, Blanc, don't go do this. And she has like no facial expression whatsoever. And I'm like, even a no name person could do a little bit better and have something where they're like a stern look on their face or something. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's too much plastic surgery. I don't know. Maybe it's too much Botox, whatever you want to call it. But like, I just think she didn't really sell it for me in any way. But everyone
No.
else was just on their A game. So it's like, can't really be upset about that. If there's just one person that you're like, this one person I didn't really like, and that's just kind of like a side factor, like you said, that's a damn good job at a movie then.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we could say pretty definitively that Wake Up Dead Man is definitely a stronger product than the first two. The first two are great. I mean, definitely, I would love to binge all three of them in a row at some point. I think that'd be fun. That'd be the Knives Out equivalent to the Road of Mordor,
It's
which
like a
I don't know
fraction
would
of the
be.
time.
Yeah, like I don't know, like Three Knives to Sunday. Like I don't even know what you'd call that.
Were you
Like who
thinking of like
knows?
310 to
But
Yuma?
no, true. 310 to Yuma. Three knives to Yuma. Nice. Yeah, I don't know.
This is why you don't.
Um,
This is why you're not like a marketing director too.
no, no. I mean, who's to say? But speaking of fun marketing stuff, as we kind of wind this one down, um, Tom made our dreams a reality, and the long fabled chunky sponsorship is real. And that means that we'll be starting to film some of our Flicks and Flops episodes in person at Chunky's, and that every movie we want to see in theaters there, they'll help us out. We get to see them, which is absolute
The
cinema.
dream has become
So
real, and it's a product of teamwork. I'm not taking all the credit here. It's been an amazing product of teamwork on this thing. So seriously, hats
yeah,
off to both of us. So pat on the back for both of us. A little bit, little do that'll do
absolutely.
it.
Yeah. But I think, it's great to have that going into 2026. I mean, we're definitely going to be ramping things up. So, I mean, if thanks for rocking us. It's been a hell of a year already. Um, you know, the last few episodes, however many episodes we've done up to this point. Um, but yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to ramp it up. Feel free to keep sharing us with your friends.
And follow along on social
And
media
as
too, because
far
we
as
got the Instagram.
yes, we're gonna be hit with the kids. They're gonna love
Well, I
us.
mean, we've already done
They're
six,
gonna make
seven,
us.
so I think we're pretty hip.
Yeah, I think so. We're getting there, right? That's the goal. As far as what we're seeing next, um, there were talks of Primate, but I think we're gonna go with Mercy with Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson. It looks positively horrendous,
AI
and
slop.
it's going to continue. It's going to continue the trend of we keep seeing movies where it's the first flop we ever did was War of the Worlds,
Yeah, I
right?
think
So
so.
like that's literally the concept of the movie. We're getting another movie where a guy's locked in somewhere with screens and has to deal with some bullshit
Dude, screen life movies
on the
are
other
some of the
side.
worst movies you will ever see in your entire life. The fact that there's a genre for
Like,
these movies is just
Screen
depressing.
Life, dude. When you told me, oh my god, when I found out that's what it was called, I was like, literally fuck
Remember
yourself. Like,
Unfriended? Remember that one? Or Unfollowed, or
oh
whatever
my
that. I don't
god.
even remember what it's called, but it's something like that.
I literally think there's an unfriended and unfollowed. I actually don't think you're I think you're on the right track,
Screen
bud.
life movies are
Oh
made
my
so you
god.
can make a movie on a $20 budget and you go, can we just do AI? Like, I can't wait to be sitting in the theater and just keep thinking about this is AI slop. I'm so excited.
Lord hope the more of those kind of movies that make it into actual theaters instead of being put to streaming hell where they belong, just like my just any hope for humanity, it's just cratering, bro. It's just
Think of it
like
this way:
uh
we never will get Coyote versus Acme movie, but movies like this can happen.
no, but that is coming
What?
out.
When?
Dude, you didn't know that was
No.
coming out? Bro, the rights to that got bought and it's gonna get released, I think, this
Wait, who
year. I'm
bought
not
it?
even kidding, dude. Um, it was the same people who bought what's it called? Yeah, it's coming out in 2026.
How did I not know this?
August 28th, 2026. No, it happened last year, I think, because they originally shelved it as a tax write off, but then Ketchup
Wait,
Entertainment is the
Ketchup
distributor.
Entertainment is the
They're the
one that
ones.
did the recent Hellboy movie. And I only remember this
Yes.
because I saw the trailer and I immediately thought, is this just fan? Is this a fan made trailer? Because I saw Ketchup
Yep,
Entertainment. I'm like, that sounds fake.
because they ended up buying I think they bought the rights to the day the earth blew like the other Looney Tunes movie that came out a couple years ago in 2024, because that was going to get released and then it ended up it was going to go on HBO Max, but then it ended up getting released by that. So like these movies that were almost getting like shelved like somehow were saved by fucking Ketchup
How much
Entertainment
money does Ketchup
of all
Entertainment
places.
have?
I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I don't know their finances. I'm sure Mustard Enterprises is making more money than them. But I don't know.
What
I
about Relish
hear
Incorporated?
yeah, no, I was gonna say I heard horseradish musicals was actually making more money than them.
The mayonnaise
But
conglomerate.
anyways, yeah, yeah, no, it's a condiment world out there, man, and we're just living in it, truly. Christ Almighty. Well, um, we'll catch you next time with Mercy, and look forward to a very flick-tastic and maybe, oh my god, I can't even speak, flick-tastic, but maybe a little flop-tastic new year. We appreciate you and love you so much. Adios.